Whether you drive a car,
need a car,
or just occasionally bum a ride with friends,
you've come to the right place.
Join Jill and Tom as they break down everything that's going on in the auto world.
New car reviews,
Shopping tips,
driving green,
electric cars,
classic cars,
and plenty of great guests.
This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, this is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast. I am Tom Appel. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. When you have a chance, check us out at consumerguide.com. While you're there, check out our 2024 Best Buy picks. If you are looking for a new car or know someone looking for a new car, that list is super handy. Also, you can listen to back episodes of the podcast right there on our homepage. Also, I write some funny stuff. You should check it out at our blog. You can get to the blog right there from the homepage. All right, in studio eating chili is Jill Ciminillo. Jill, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm hungry, apparently.
You are managing editor of Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. You are a North American Car of the Year juror and a freelancer.
Yes.
Is that everything? Everything major that I can read in a short list.
That'll work.
All right, there you have it.
And wait a minute, you're funny?
Reasonably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a rule that people don't tell me that.
Okay.
My wife, my daughter, ex-girlfriends will not see that I am in any way amusing.
Okay. But somebody other than you finds you funny?
I don't know that. But I assume someone does.
My mom finds you funny. Does that count for anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my mom might think I'm funny. Or just tell me that. Interesting things. A lot of little stories. We got big stories to get to. You drove the Buick Enclave.
I did.
Completely redesigned. This is a big, luxurious crossover.
Yep.
Should sell better. I've always thought that. Extremely refined. We'll get to that in a moment. But a couple of things real quick. One, Bruno Sacco died. S-A-C-C-O, Bruno Sacco.
Okay.
Bruno Sacco was the first car designer that I think we began calling by name. Like he was at Mercedes-Benz, and he did a couple of things that really mattered, and they were huge. The Mercedes 126, the S-Class that came out for 1981 in America, I think it was 81, a benchmark car like for the ages. And it was perhaps the single most important Mercedes product for a very long time, and probably the best car ever built. People will tell you this. And the thing about the S-Class was that it was both trim but sporty and big and substantial. It did everything that it should. Its design was so many contradictions, and yet it was beautiful to behold. It was an amazing vehicle. He went on to design for 86 the 124 E-Class, which was the first vehicle we ever called E-Class before they were just bunch of numbers, but we hadn't really decided that was a class of vehicles. But those were beautiful, and they were the first vehicles that have the lower side cladding, a very interesting design element that Pontiac would ruin for all of us. But Bruno Sacco is dead, and I think people my age and maybe 10, 15 years younger probably remember this guy with great warmth. Like, what he did for the auto industry was amazing. He's gone now. He did also design, unfortunately, the replacement for that S-Class, which was way, way, way too big and heavy. But we can forgive that.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Bruno Sacco.
All right.
Over the weekend, I drove to Walworth, Wisconsin.
Okay.
In the Subaru Solterra.
How did that go?
It went super well.
Okay.
First of all, the EVgo charging station by my house that I've been bitching about for...
Finally worked?
It worked twice in a row. No snags whatsoever, except that it charged very slowly.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal was. One time it charged at 27 kilowatts, the other time 45. Neither getting close to the 50 of its potential, or I forgot how fast the Solterra charges, but faster than that.
Right.
But that said, the Solterra, which is based mechanically on the Toyota BZ4X, and they both have a weird relationship with the Prius, which is not fully understood, but they have the exact same dash.
Yes, they do.
The range estimates for that vehicle are extraordinarily conservative.
You know what? I would agree with you. I had it a couple of weeks ago and drove out to Glen Ellen from the city. I can't remember how many miles that is. It's like 30-something, I think. And when I went there and came back, I had more, I didn't use as much range as I should have. Yeah,
that's what happened to my daughter and I drove up to Meggie Moo's Dairy Rebelle, an ice cream place up in Walworth. We usually go around the 4th of July, but she's been busy. She was at school. She's been looking for a job. But we made the time, and it was great. But it's 60 miles there, 60 miles back, and then we usually drive along Lake Geneva, which is beautiful.
Right.
And we're a little bit after, vacation period, so it was a little quiet. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
And a beautiful day and a nice day for batteries because it was under 80 degrees. But the whole trip probably should have been 150 miles, something like that. And I only used something like 110 miles of stated range.
Yeah, and like 150 miles, let's be clear, this is a 200-mile range vehicle. So, like, if you were using 150 miles of range, like, that would put me in freak-out territory almost.
Yeah, never had to worry.
Huh?
No, it was nice.
That's
it was,
good.
No range anxiety on a trip that was close to 200 miles. So they're also a very nice vehicle. Quiet on the highway, good acceleration. Everything but the range is really good. Unfortunately, it doesn't qualify for federal tax credits, so you want to do that thing where you try and lease it.
Right. To
get that money back. But yeah, I actually like this vehicle a lot. Also, the interior is nicer on the Subaru than it is on the Toyota.
Okay. Yeah, I did. So when I did my review of this, I did a tech check, which is one of the new things I'm doing on YouTube. So
I've seen that.
Doing a full review, I do a tech check. So I will share that for our show notes.
It's still substantial. I haven't watched one yet because time is time. But you're throwing like 30 minutes into these, right?
Like 25 or so, yeah.
Yeah. So not an insubstantial review of the vehicle.
No, and it really focused on the technology, the infotainment systems, the safety systems, that kind of stuff, how to turn things off, the cameras, that kind of stuff.
The thing about that, the tech check, it's probably a really smart thing to get into because increasingly shoppers are not looking for dynamic reviews. They don't care that much about. They probably care about ride quality because it affects them directly.
Right.
But what is handling?
Yeah.
And seriously, and we've entered into an era now, especially with electric vehicles and electric power steering, where all cars pretty much have crappy steering.
Yeah.
So like we've lost an era.
Well, and cars are like computers on wheels.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, I'm doing a review of the Nissan Z right now, and I was like, yeah, I'm not a gearhead, so I'm not doing a burnout or 0 to 60 mile per hour type. So if that's what you're looking for, go someplace else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually talk about the car.
Yeah, it's weird to be my age and still be doing this, only because I've seen so many changes. And the thing is, when I was a kid, when I was working at a gas station, and you got into a Volkswagen Jetta, or you got into a Honda Civic, those cars were fun to drive. They were generally stick. Unbelievably, there was a time where in those models, more of them were stick than were not.
Yep.
And revvy little engines and great suspensions, and they were just fun. And cars aren't really like that anymore.
But no, there's very few. Like Hyundai has their N series, which is fun, but.
I don't know what the take rate is on sporty stuff anymore.
No.
But anyway, I digress. Recently, not recently, 2 years ago. That's not recently.
That could be recent, depending on your time frame.
We spoke to Steve Horniak from BrightDrop.
Okay.
You may remember that conversation. And he was all revved and ready to go. And then BrightDrop didn't do anything. They almost did no production. So I don't know what happened with it. But here, I don't know if you saw this story. It's subtle. It doesn't really affect people directly, but there's some backroom machinations here. BrightDrop is now part of Chevy.
Yes, I did see that story.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think that one of the things, if you remember when we were talking to Steve, that came up was I asked a question about, you guys aren't going to have a lot of presence on the street. Who's going to do the maintenance? He's like, well, fleets do their own maintenance. I think that's changed. And I think that they're going to be looking for smaller unit buyers.
Okay.
Single buyers, 3 buyers or something that are going to want to go to the dealer for maintenance.
Right.
So I think that's what's changed. So these are now Chevrolet BrightDrop. And the vehicles are Zevo 400 and Zevo 600.
Okay.
So, and production has ramped up.
And
we should start seeing these, and they're really cool looking.
And to be clear, they are more like delivery type vehicles. It's not a consumer passenger vehicle.
I should have made that clear. Yes, they're very much like the Rivian EDV.
Yeah.
That we're seeing making. Yeah, these are
Amazon,
commercial deliver big vehicles, like the Ford E-Transit.
Okay.
Right there, which sells in some volume. Ford is actually selling those in some volume, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But BrightDrop is kind of no more, and it's not a brand anymore.
Yep.
So like Hummer got pulled in under GMC, BrightDrop just got pulled in under Chevy.
Yes.
All right. I think that is all the little things I wanted to get to. Did I mention Bruno Sacco?
You did.
Yeah, I don't think I could praise that guy enough. Really, one of my favorite cars of all time was that S-Class. And it really changed the way people think about cars. But you drove a car, I think, very underappreciated.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll still be underappreciated, but the Buick Enclave. So Buick's big car.
Yeah, so it's a large 3-row SUV. It's built on the same platform as the GMC Acadia and the Chevrolet Traverse.
Yeah.
They share a lot of components. I think I read somewhere that they even, like, all of the doors for all of the vehicles are exactly the same.
That makes sense.
But, so same general shape. You have a lot of similar features and things like that. But, the Buick Enclave is probably more upscale than the Traverse, and it's maybe a little less upscale than the Acadia. I don't know. I would say, to me, Acadia and Enclave are kind of competitive vehicles.
They have to be different enough because they're sold out of the same showroom.
Yeah, but so GMC Acadia has an off-road variant, whereas the Enclave doesn't. So the Enclave is more suited to, family city driving. It's not off-roady at all. But what I was really impressed by, the price point, I want to say it starts at about $47,000, and you have a lot of things with that, and including up-level trimmings and materials. The Super Cruise hands-free driving system is available on all trims, which I thought was really impressive.
And that's for the first time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's the first time in a Buick that Super Cruise has made it into Buick, and it is. I can't say this enough. Super Cruise is probably the best hands-free driving system I've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's good.
And I did in my review, we were on a 2-lane highway. So now it's available on 2-lane highways. It's just not divided 4-lane highways anymore. And we were curving and the vehicle was handling everything. So like in my video review, I'm like, oh my God, we're turning. The vehicle is turning itself. But yeah, it was very impressive. I was super impressed with that. I was, impressed with the ride and handling. The engine, when you are outside of the vehicle, is a little buzzy. You can hear it, but when you are inside the vehicle, the Buick Quiet Tuning really helps cancel out any of the exterior noise.
Yeah, the old V6 was super smooth, and I've been whining on this podcast about the fact that old V6s are going away and being replaced by large displacement 4-cylinder turbos.
Yeah,
and those engines are more powerful and more efficient. And in fact, the fuel economy does go up for this vehicle by 1 mile per gallon on front-wheel drives, and I think 2 on all-wheel drives. And you get more power too, but unfortunately, it is a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. So it's not going to be as smooth as a nicely balanced V6, but the power is there.
Yeah.
And you're saying that the quiet tuning is Buick's brand for a bunch of things that they do.
Yeah. That
make their cars very quiet. And they are quieter than the Chevy traditionally they're quieter than the Chevy or GMC versions. Of these vehicles, and I'm sure that's still the case.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with the Buick Enclave. I generally liked it. There were a couple of like annoying little things, but it's not enough to turn me off. Like there are no auto up or down windows for anything other than the driver. I thought that was a little weird.
Oh, that is weird. It's a weird place to cut cost.
Yeah, and like the gas pedal and brake pedals look really cheap, but nobody's really going to look at that.
GMs especially, but all vehicles, once you're in a vehicle and situated, mostly what you see is the good stuff they want you to see. But when you're stepping up into a vehicle, and especially a larger crossover, you see a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And it's crap for a couple of reasons. One, they think you're not going to see it, so they're not going to spend the money on better materials. Yeah. Also, it's got to be really durable because you're kicking that. It gets snow and salt on it.
Yeah.
And so
I'm short. I see all of that.
But you're saying the pedals themselves look bad.
Yeah.
That's funny because a lot of makers like go out of their way to make the pedals look cool.
Yeah, these do not look cool.
Interesting.
But this has the new floating console design. So
that is cool. Is it cool? It looks cool in pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like it. I love the floating consoles you're seeing on vehicles these days because it creates this extra storage space for you to put like a bag, a purse.
Oh, we're talking about different things.
Okay.
You're talking about the center console.
Yeah.
And there's space underneath it.
Yes.
Not what I was talking about.
Okay, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the touchscreen and instrument panel, which seemed to float, and they're kind of football shaped.
Yeah.
And it's a single
single piece of glass.
And we've been seeing that, and I like that. But this one's artful. Like it's curved, and it looks cool.
Yeah. No, they've done a really good job with it. The one quibble I have, and this is going to completely surprise you, is how Apple CarPlay appears on the screen. Like they did. It feels like they phoned it in. And the screen has like a little bit of a wing at the end, and rather than like bringing like the Apple CarPlay into that edge, it cuts off weird, and the icons are really small. It's like they don't want. It's like they want you to
like the right side as you look at it.
Yeah, they want you to not like Apple CarPlay and how it appears on the screen because I think they don't want you to use it because they want to do away with it.
If you ever watched the Jetsons. If you ever watched the Jetsons, all the telescreens, which were wonderfully predictive, were weird shapes, and somehow they were always filled with a full image if they were talking to somebody on the telephone. But that's harder to do in real life, apparently. And that's one of my complaints with Mini, because
Yeah.
Mini's got their screen in a circle.
Yeah.
Their square screen in a circle. And if you want to get to stuff on the sides, there's like a marginal navigation thing on the sides that is most of the navigation. It's really squished against the thing that forms the frame of the round screen, and you can't get your finger in there. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And it makes the screen very small, actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, and people are like, well, Apple dictates how you can do that. No, Apple does not. Apple gives you, the ability to, because like I've seen vertical Apple CarPlay implementations. I've seen square,
Who does Ford.
Ford
does everything
does,
vertical.
Subaru does,
Yeah. Subaru
Volvo does.
Ram.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, there is some configurability there, and I feel like Buick did a bad job with that.
Interesting. I would argue that if you're looking for a demographic that would not be using CarPlay, it might be Buick buyers.
It might be. It might be. It might be.
That might have the highest penetration of non-native system users.
Right.
Interesting thing, this is off topic, but I looked this up because I was just curious. We've been talking so much about CarPlay. CarPlay does not charge any money to license it.
Okay.
At all. Mm-hmm. And Android Auto charges $40 a unit. So neither one is prohibitive.
Yeah.
Well, the Apple's not prohibitive at all.
Yeah.
But the Android Auto, you're probably going to do it for $40.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting thing. So this is Buick's flagship vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's their big vehicle. And the lineup is interesting because you have, what's the new little Buick?
It's Envista.
Envista, thank you. And then you have the Encore GX, and then you have the Envision, and then this. And the two vehicles at the bottom feel very mainstream. Mm-hmm. But when you get to the Envision and when you get to the Enclave, they feel like luxury vehicles to me.
Yeah, especially when you look at the Avenir trim, they've got some really nice finishing touches and some good material color choices and things like that. So I really had very few quibbles with the Buick Enclave. I enjoyed it.
Interesting thing about the price too. Talking about whether or not it's luxury, the Preferred starts at $46,000. Mm-hmm. The Avenir is almost $60,000.
Yeah.
So it's a huge leap, and there's only 3 trim levels.
Yeah.
So you can go Preferred. Mm-hmm. There's a Sport version that hardly costs more than the Preferred, and then there's the ultra luxury Avenir. So it definitely crosses into luxury. It's $60,000 starting for a crossover. Yeah,
and I will say the Avenir Super Cruise is still optional on that, so it's not included.
What does that cost?
I feel like it might be $3,000.
Yeah, it's probably big money.
In addition to, you'll get I want to say it's a 3-year free trial. You do get a free trial, and then it will cost you a subscription fee. And
we know what that is, right? Isn't it really cheap? It's like $25 a month?
So in other GM vehicles, it's $25 a month. Buick hasn't announced what it's going to be, but I imagine it's going to be $25. I mean, they're not going to make it more than a Cadillac.
No. At $25 a month, people will do it.
Yeah.
And even forget they have it.
It's $250 a year. I mean, so when I in addition to going on a tear about Apple CarPlay, I've been going on a tear a lot lately about subscription fees. And Blue Cruise, in contrast, is like an $800 annual fee.
Or it's $75 a month.
Yeah, compared to, and it's not a superior system. So
I used Bluetooth. I used that
Blue
recently.
Cruise.
Blue Cruise, thank you, in the new Lincoln Nautilus. And it was very, very good. I was surprised by how good it was.
It's very good, but it's not as good as Super
Cruise. For people
Cruise.
who don't know, just in case we didn't cover it, we're talking about hands-free cruise control, basically. Yes. So it's a cruise control system with adaptive cruise control. It's aware of the other vehicles on the road. You don't have to brake. You don't have to do anything. And it only works on mapped roads.
Yes.
So the fact that you're driving these now on curved roads means that they have mapped more of the U.S. Yeah. When they first started, when I don't know, 10 years ago, when we first saw Super Cruise for the first time, it was like 200,000 miles of mapped road. Now I think there's 500,000. So there's a lot of road out there. Yeah. And then there's, we don't have time for this today, but there's all sorts of weird security and privacy issues about the system knowing where you're at and mapping the road while you're driving. So your car that you paid for is doing work for them. Yes. But long story. Yes. We should wrap this up. Enclave.
I really enjoyed the Buick Enclave. I think it's a great vehicle. The third row is a little bit tight if you're going to use it for like every day, but occasional carpooling, I think it's great. Road trip, maybe not so much. But the seats in all rows are comfortable, which I was really impressed with. Yeah. It's traditionally just a very refined vehicle that's not on people's radar, and maybe it should be. But this version might do that. Yes. I think we might hear more about it. We didn't talk about it before, but we're going to talk to Robby DeGraff of AutoPacific
about features that people really, really want in their future cars.
Yes.
All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, we're back. This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom, she's Jill, and we're like roughly mid-show, early mid-show.
Yes.
For people like keeping track.
Sure.
Someone with a stopwatch for some reason. Someone with nothing better to do. All right.
I was going to have a comment there, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm on Twitter, by the way.
Are you?
I am Car Guy Tom on Twitter.
Okay.
Over the weekend, I found 3 totally derelict trash Cadillacs. So if you want to see those, use the car spotter hashtag.
Right.
All right. Our guest today hasn't been with us in a while, but he's been on, I think, 2 or 3 times before. Mm-hmm. He is Robby DeGraff. He is the manager of product and consumer insights at AutoPacific, and he's going to be telling us today about AutoPacific's FADS, F-A-D-S FADS survey. Robby, how are you, sir?
I'm good. It's good to hear you both. How are you both doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How is Wisconsin treating you?
Wisconsin is good. I have a gorgeous red maple outside my window right now.
Nice.
It's dropping leaves everywhere. So I'm counting down the time until we get some snow. I'm ready to go skiing.
Totally off topic, but earlier in the show I mentioned that my daughter and I drove to Walsworth, Wisconsin over the weekend, and the colors are changing up there already, just over the Illinois border, just over the border.
Our colors up here are definitely changing a little bit quicker than I think they have in the past. So yeah. I will happily welcome that.
And this is totally off topic. Robby, have you ever been to Meggie Moo's Dairy Ripple in Walworth, Wisconsin?
I cannot say I haven't. I can't say that I don't know if I've ever heard of that place. I'll have to put that on my list of places to
near Lake Geneva, famous for its custard and for their widgets, which are just little fried balls of dough. Delicious.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, if people think there aren't things to see in Wisconsin, they're wrong. There's Meggie Moo's Dairy Ripple.
And apparently leaves that are already starting to change.
Oh, man. Robby, for people who don't know, tell us about what you guys do at AutoPacific.
Yeah, absolutely. So AutoPacific is a market research and consulting company. We work with various product planning teams at automakers and suppliers to pretty much kind of get a scope of what's going on in the industry, what we can predict on what's going to happen next. We help automakers figure out what equipment to put on their next new vehicles, what new consumer trends and interests to kind of be paying attention to as the market changes. So we do all of that. We do sales forecasting as well as competitive intelligence too.
So what's the last thing that you guys totally recommended that manufacturers be aware of and they didn't do it, and you just pointed and yelled, aha?
I don't know if I can answer that off the top of my head.
Okay, all right.
Usually we have some wonderful clients, and usually they take any advice that we give to heart, so we do appreciate that.
Well, that's cool. Now you've got a cool study out right now, and that's the FADS, F-A-D-S, FADS study. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so every year our team conducts a nationwide study where we reach out to thousands of licensed drivers. So these are people that have a driver's license and they're actually vehicle shoppers. So these are people that within the next 3 years are looking to enter the vehicle market and buy a new vehicle. And this year we were able to connect with just under 15,000 consumers who are planning on buying a new car within the next couple of years. So we gauge demand for more than 160 vehicle features, technology, powertrain. We talk to these consumers to figure out, what brands are you considering? Are you looking at a minivan or a pickup truck? If you're interested in buying a EV or a plug-in hybrid, do you have a place to charge it? So it's a really in-depth, comprehensive study that just pretty much gauges like what people are looking at and what they're planning on buying within the next couple of years. It's always really interesting. It's always my favorite part of my job. Yeah,
this is an interesting study, and the results. See, people can look at limited amounts of the results at autopacific.com, correct?
Yep, that's correct. We have an insights page where we're still posting some preliminary findings from it that we do wish to share.
Well, speaking of wish to share, we've got, I think, the top 10 here. Can you tell us what these are? Kind of walk us down the list and tell us, there's a dollar amount there too. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we like to put out our top 10 features. So these are the features that consumers want the most on their next new vehicle. We ask everything from EV specific features to performance features and seating features, but with every feature that we present to a vehicle shopper, we give them a description of the feature, the technology, kind of a sample photo of it, but then we also give them a price with it. So that dollar amount you're referring to is, hypothetically how much a consumer would want to pay for that next feature.
Okay.
So, and just to kind of start at the top of the list, the number one most wanted feature that a vehicle shopper wants on their next vehicle is a wireless charging pad for a smartphone.
Okay.
And that is wanted by 44% of all new vehicle shoppers. And that's regardless of powertrain, regardless of segment, and regardless of the vehicle price they want to pay. So, that feature is wanted amongst entry-level shoppers, but then also your top-tier ultra-luxury makes as well. And what's interesting, too, is the second most. So this is wanted by the second most, which is wanted by 37% of all consumers, is that exact same feature, but for the rear of the cabin. So essentially like a wireless charging pad for those sitting in the back seat of a vehicle.
And the $50 that we have there, that's what they would be, or they would willingly pay that.
Yeah, correct. We kind of took a ballpark of how much the feature is to add to a vehicle, and then we take the price of the feature itself. We look at a couple different examples currently on sale, and we kind of come up with just like a ballpark estimate in between, kind of like just like an average price. So those that would be taking this survey would see like, oh, I can have a wireless phone charging pad in the back of my car for $50. Boom, I want that. So that's kind of where that price comes into it. And it's interesting because I don't know about you, but I think a charging pad at the front of a vehicle makes sense because, you can leave your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay on. And Jill, I'm on Team Android Auto, by the way. I think every vehicle should have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But it's interesting when you look at such strong demand for almost the same feature, but in the back of a vehicle, because, with wireless charging, the phone has to be kept in place.
Right.
Yes.
You can't pick up the wireless charging pad. So we were kind of surprised to see that. So maybe consumers are they're interested in, not having to plug in, but they're willing to keep their phones in the armrest while they're charging instead of texting while they're in the back seat.
Right. Well, so to that point, I will say I took a family road trip this weekend, and my sister and brother-in-law were in the middle row, and both of them were plugged in, like they had their headphones on, and they were listening to music. So I could see where somebody in the rear seat would be like, okay, I'm going to put my phone on the wireless charger, put my wireless earbuds in, and listen to music. But what I want to say about the wireless charger is if automakers are listening to this and they think, oh, yeah, we should put wireless chargers everywhere, what I want to say is put wireless chargers everywhere that work. I have found very few that don't overheat my phone. So, people want wireless chargers, but they don't understand that most wireless chargers don't work or they don't work well.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. There's, it's a great feature in theory because it's like, you don't have to have this USB cord and, it's pretty clean and, stores your phone out of place. But, I've been in vehicles just for evaluation where you could have your phone on the charging pad at 50%, drive for an hour and a half, and it'll only get up to 60% charge.
Or it doesn't increase charge at all. That's what I had happen over the weekend.
It's at least charge maintenance.
Yeah, it was just maintaining my charge, but it wasn't actually charging my phone, and then it overheated my phone in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that, as automakers, wireless charging pads in cars, it's still a relatively newish feature. And I think that as consumer demand continues to pick up for it, I wouldn't be surprised if we see kind of like, version 2.0, 3.0, where it is quicker. And yeah, it has like a built-in fan, because I picked up my phone before after it's been sitting on a charging pad, and it's like you're grabbing a hot potato.
Yeah.
There are interesting versions of that too. Like I think the Ram, and I'm not talking the 2025 Ram, is it the 2024 Ram? There's like a little slot that it slides into.
No, it's a 2025 Ram does that.
But did the 2024? Because I
don't know.
haven't driven a 2025 Ram yet. But it slides in there. And for some reason, that's very quick. I don't know why that charge is quick. And we've got the new Santa Fe with 2 chargers. Hello, side by side.
That overheat your phone.
Your phone. Again, I think something's up with your phone, or maybe your phone case. I have never had an overheated phone from charging in a car. So.
Have you been in the car for 3 hours, though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, there's more of these, Robby. We have to move on. I'm not blaming you here.
He's blaming me, but I don't care.
I am blaming Jill.
I don't care.
You're good. Continuing on down the list, the third most wanted feature, that's kind of an expected one, so that's heated and ventilated or cooled front seats.
Yes.
So that's wanted, again, by about 37% of consumers. Number 4 is actually a feature that we used to gauge consumer demand for, but we kind of paused on putting that into our study, and then a couple of our clients were like, hey, we would like to see if this is a feature that consumers want. So it's one we actually added back into the study to see if people want it, and it turns out people do. So our 4th most wanted feature is a set of rain-sensing windshield wipers.
Okay, if you wash your car a lot, you don't want these. They just go. You forget you have them, and they go off in the car wash, and then you freak out because you're trying to figure out how to turn them off because you feel like things are breaking. They don't. These are very durable. Nothing ever breaks, but it feels bad.
It's a great feature when you're. I mean, I that's a feature I used to not be like super attached to. I was like, yeah, I don't really need that, but I do think it's great when you're driving and it's like just the degree of rain is just changing, from being rapid or slow, and it automatically adjusts on the fly. But
that's pretty cool.
That's wanted by 36% of shoppers.
Wow.
Number 5 is a sunroof and moonroof.
Interesting.
And again, that is a standard sunroof or moonroof. So we're not talking like a panoramic glass roof that opens up. So that's wanted by 35%. The next one I think is pretty interesting, which is driver profile settings.
Yeah. Very interesting. Explain what those are too.
So driver profile settings they're really great if you happen to share a vehicle with somebody, or a couple people in your household. Like I know my wife is a full foot shorter than I am, so when we get into our Subaru, it's me adjusting the mirrors, adjusting the seat, adjusting the steering wheel manually, whereas in a new vehicle that has driver profile settings, you can essentially customize and figure out where you want your seat, your steering wheel, your mirrors. You can even do climate control and audio preferences. Some of these driver profile settings even go more in depth, where you can change. Do you want your vehicle to start up in sport mode automatically, or do you want your interior lighting to be blue when you get in the car? And even though it takes a couple minutes to pre-program it, once you have it done, you get in a vehicle. It either recognizes your key fob, or some vehicles. I know I was just in a Mercedes where you could put your thumb on the dashboard onto a thumbprint scanner, and it'll recognize it that way.
Wow.
Subaru does it where it'll recognize your eyes and recognize car and make those automatic adjustments. So it's a really cool feature that it really makes life a lot easier if you happen to share a car with somebody, and that's wanted by 35% of consumers as well.
I need that because I think I sometimes get into test cars after Jill had them. And there's a horrifying 7 seconds where I'm sure I'm going to die.
No.
Because the seat is closing on the wheel and rising, and I can't figure out how to stop it. I'm pretty sure paramedics are going to have to be called. Usually I live. Usually I'm fine.
Well, you're still here, so I'm going to say you're fine.
Yeah. But it's horrifying. And
you haven't lost a kidney yet. But I always move the seat back.
No, it's not moving it back. It's that it's programmed into seat 1 or seat 2.
Well, that I'm probably doing.
Yeah.
But I will say I do call the driver profiles marriage-saving features.
Because my wife and I rarely share a car.
So we have one car, and so if we had that would be absolutely a marriage saver. And the heated and ventilated seats, also a marriage saver.
I'm at a point where I need a car to protect me from my daughter's music. But
well, thankfully, with a driver profile setting, you can usually on some of these more advanced systems, it'll automatically store your presets, and hopefully when you get in the car, Slipknot isn't blasting, and I don't know, Crosby, Stills and Nash or something. I'm guessing your taste in music, Tom. Unless you like Slipknot, that's okay too.
I'm totally into Slipknot.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't either.
Okay.
I don't know who. I'm aware that there's a band called Slipknot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say something now that'll actually get us email. They're just like Nickelback, right?
Oh, you just opened up a floodgate.
And what was that email, Tom?
Carstuff@consumerguide.com.
There you go.
All right, Robby, this next one is for people who apparently want to make blender drinks in the car.
Or work on their computer.
Or a computer, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so continuing down the list, wanted by 34% of all vehicle shoppers in the future is a household 110-volt outlet.
Huh.
We know that can be convenient and helpful on road trips, or, if you're at the job site and you need to plug in a laptop, or a tool that doesn't draw a ton of power, but enough. Continuing on down the list, too, we have sunshades for rear passengers.
People want those.
People do want those, and those can be powered or manual.
I guess if you have a car seat back there, you really want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know a couple friends of mine that have bought minivans, which I'm super stoked about. Who have
Aren't
kids,
we all?
and yeah. I mean, their minivans are the best for families, but they have kids, and they religiously use their middle row sunshades when they have their car seats up.
Okay.
So yeah, that's wanted by 33%. And then the only real active safety feature in our top 10 list of most wanted new vehicle features is rear cross traffic alert with automatic emergency braking. So that's the only real direct safety feature that's the most wanted feature.
Is that possibly because people just assume the other safety features are now kind of standard equipment?
I think we're starting to get there.
Okay.
Also, just as we're starting to see some more of these various ADAS features become, federalized on every vehicle.
Yeah.
Every vehicle has to have automatic emergency braking or collision warning. But I think that, with rear cross traffic, I think too that just the usage case for that is one that you're going to experience probably a lot more frequently as a consumer than the forward automatic emergency braking.
Sure. Super useful if you're backing out of a spot.
Yeah.
It's incredibly useful. I think it's incredibly helpful. I mean, whether you're in a crowded parking lot or a driveway, or if you're backing, if you're tired getting off a plane and you're backing out of your airport parking spot and there's somebody coming by and it automatically stops. I think that's I'm hoping that NHTSA will wake up and make this mandatory on all cars within the next couple of years. I'm sure it will be, but until then, we're probably going to keep seeing demand keep going up for this, and that's wanted by 32% of all consumers too.
All right, and then something super functional is last on the list.
And weird.
Yeah, and
I want it.
This is. I want it too. Yeah, this is actually one that kind of caught us all off guard, but we were able to figure out that the 10th most, and again, in our study this year, we gauged interest in 163 vehicle features, powertrains, and technologies. But the 10th most wanted feature, and this was number 10. And this feature beat out, various levels of autonomous driving. This feature beat out heated steering wheel. So the feature we're talking about is a built-in air compressor.
Yeah.
31% of all new vehicle shoppers want a built-in air compressor on their vehicle. And again, that's regardless of powertrain, whether it be a sedan or an electric sedan or a gas truck. So regardless of powertrain, regardless of vehicle type, regardless of make or price point, a little over a third of all vehicle shoppers want a built-in air compressor.
And do you think that's for convenience when camping, something like that, like crazy people like you, Robby, super into the outdoors, or do you think it's as practical as they want to fix a flat tire as easily as possible?
I think Tom, I think you nailed it. I think that there's so many good usage cases for it. You don't have to fight for a gas station that has an air pump that works and only takes quarters or some,
Right.
BS like that.
Who has change?
Yeah.
If you have a flat and you have to come up with quarters for that, it's like the worst day of your year. And those things don't work. They're so slow.
No, they don't. I also don't think that they should be charging people to put air in their tires, because it's such a safety
air.
thing. But that's gas stations for you. But whether it be car maintenance, as in like filling up your tires, or filling up an air mattress, or like a kayak that blows up. Also for people that off-road, we definitely know that in some of these off-road vehicles, I believe Rivian has like a built-in air compressor. It allows people to air down the tires if they need a little bit more traction and then fill them back up again. So there's just a lot of usage cases for it, and it's a relatively inexpensive feature. We presented a high price of $100 for you to have an air compressor on your vehicle. And if you were to go to AutoZone or even on Amazon and buy like one of those portable ones that you have to like unwrangle and pull out of your trunk and do that,
hook up to your jumper or your battery.
Exactly. And like a decent one of those can run you $40, $50, $60, and half the time they break. So it's a really good.
Yeah, I see the value.
And it's wanted by 31% of all new vehicle shoppers.
Robby, we've run out of time, but remind people how they can check this list out.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to our website, which is AutoPacific.com, at the top we have a insights page. We'll be posting more findings and results from our big fad study as we continue to unpack it. We have a lot of data to swim through.
Sounds good. Robby, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Always an honor. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Robby DeGraff with AutoPacific. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's
Quiz time.
Quiz time.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, we're back. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom. She's Jill. Jill, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's quiz time, but you were going to tell us about how people can find you in the social ether.
In the social ether, yes. So I am on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the things. You can find me at Jill Ciminillo, and I use the hashtag #CarDuJour. I will say on LinkedIn and Facebook, I'm not super good about accepting friend requests, but you can follow me. I have everything public.
I don't really accept friend requests on LinkedIn. I have to really, really know somebody. Like friend of a friend or someone at a place.
Yeah. My husband has a rule. If they try to connect with him, he wants to have coffee with them before he will link to them.
I keep getting stuff from people who call themselves social media experts. And then podcast experts. I'm like, you're just trying to sell me something. We're not
Probably.
friends. We're not friends.
We are not. We're not going there.
Yeah. All right. It's quiz time.
It is.
Today's quiz might be too easy.
Oh.
And I'm not kidding.
Which means I'm going to fail it miserably.
I don't think you will. I think this one was too easy. It seemed like a good idea when I started doing it. Then I'm like, this kind of sucks. So we'll see. It might be fun.
It could be fun, and I could fail miserably. Because usually when you say it's easy, I do badly.
All I need you to do
Okay.
is tell me the top trim level. I'm going to give you 2 trim levels. You have to tell me which one is the top trim level for that vehicle.
Okay.
That's it. And he's kind of...
Deceptively easy.
I think it's easy.
It's not easy.
The 2025 Nissan Rogue.
Okay.
Rock Creek or Platinum? Which is the top trim level?
I'm going to go with Platinum.
It is. By a lot. The Rock Creek starts at $37,000. The Platinum at $42,000. You are on the board. I'm going to write this down.
I have a point.
1.
And so the rules are?
The rules are 5 questions plus a bonus question. You need 3 total.
3 total.
For a victory. The bonus question, of course, always related to the topic of the day.
Always.
Always. 2025 Honda Accord. Is it the Sport L hybrid or the Touring hybrid? One of the best hybrids on the market, by the way.
I'm going to say Touring.
You're correct. You've already got this one knocked down. All right.
Which means I'm going to miss every single one of the end.
The 2025 Ford Escape, the ST Line Elite. That might be a new trim level for 2025. Or the Platinum.
Okay, this one is tough because in the Explorer, The ST is the top trim, and that was like...
And that gets to the 3-liter twin turbo.
Yeah, that was like a weird... I didn't expect the ST to be the top trim. Okay, so you said ST line?
ST line Elite.
Elite.
It's a bunch of name.
Or what was the other one?
Platinum. Because everyone's got a Platinum.
Everybody has a Platinum. I'm going to go Platinum.
No, it's the ST line Elite.
Yeah.
All right, you were 2 and 1.
Okay.
2025 Honda Ridgeline, the pickup truck that everyone should buy, but no one does. Black Edition or Trail Sport?
Ooh, and I just had the Trail Sport.
I just got out of the Passport Trail Sport.
Okay.
Very nice vehicle.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna say black.
You're correct. You've already won.
Woo!
And then finally, this is a little bit confusing, so I'm glad you've already won. But the Porsche 911 is available in kind of mainstream vehicles, and then very, very, very expensive track-specific turbo models and Turbo S models. So this is kind of the core base.
And I know nothing about Porsche.
I just need to know if the Targa 4 GT or the Carrera 4 GT. I'm sorry, Targa 4 GTS or Carrera 4 GTS is the top trim level.
No idea. I'm going to say Carrera.
It's Targa.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't have time this morning when I was writing the quiz to dig into this Targa thing, because I don't think that's always been a part of the lineup. So I don't really know where that plays. All right. I think you're going to like today's bonus question. We always talk about going to lunch, and we never do. But if we did, one good place we could on your drive out here is Alt Thai, a restaurant in Arlington Heights.
Okay.
That quote their website, a buzzy eatery with contemporary decor offering Thai and Pan-Asian dishes from lunch to dinner.
Ooh.
Anyway, it's a great restaurant.
Okay.
It's a great restaurant, and it's remarkably affordable. I just need to know which of the following is not on their dessert menu.
Okay.
This can't be as annoying as you're making it look.
It is annoying.
All right. Are you ready?
I've never heard of this restaurant, and I have no idea what Thai desserts would be.
Well, you're about to learn.
Okay.
Because one of these ain't one.
Okay.
Mango sticky rice, key lime pie, taro custard, or mung bean chili tart.
What?
The mung bean chili tart. M-U-N-G, mung bean chili tart.
Now, if you'd said mung bean ice cream, I would totally think that was...
I didn't say ice cream.
But you did not say ice cream. Okay, so I think sticky rice definitely has to be a thing. The mango. What was the second one?
Key lime pie.
Ugh.
Regular old key lime pie. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that could be a thing. Okay, that's a real thing, I know, but I'm gonna say that's on the menu. So it has to be one of the last two.
Okay.
So what was the third?
Taro custard, T-A-R-O, taro custard.
Okay.
Taro's a root vegetable. Kind of starchy, potato-like, but I think it's finds its way into sweet things.
Okay.
And the mung bean chili tart. Luckily, we have the music.
Yeah, I know, because I'm like, I don't know.
Gonna need an answer, because you want to get to some news.
I do want to get to some news.
You are literally holding up the game on something you want.
I want news. Okay, yeah. Mung bean.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never had the taro custard, but now I want it. But the mango sticky rice is fantastic.
I was going to say, mango and sticky rice seems like that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. They slice the mango and they put it next to the chili rice, and it's shaped like a mold. And I don't know why, but the rice itself has something mango going on. I don't know. Delicious.
Okay.
Delicious. It's a great restaurant, Alt Thai. I'll link to it. Not that anyone who listens to the show lives within 100 miles of there.
How do you spell the name of the restaurant?
Alt Thai, A-L-T, space T-H-A-I.
So like alternative Thai?
Yeah, but it ain't that alternative. It's creative, but it's certainly not challenging.
Got it.
Great restaurant,
Alt Thai.
All right. You are going to be out of the office for a couple of weeks.
I am.
And there's a couple things you wanted to talk about. So let's talk real quick about you being out of the office. You'll be out for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Running the Rebelle.
Yes.
And I think what people need to know, and I can link to that in our show notes this week, is how people can follow your activities.
Yeah, so if you go to rebellerally.com, there at the top menu, there'll be a place where you can go to track teams. And we are team number 191 this year. We are driving a Ram. And by the way, I did ask if it's Row or RHO, and it is RHO. So I've totally been saying it wrong.
Yeah.
I like Row better.
It's just a sponsor. Don't worry about it.
I know. It's just a sponsor. So I'm going to try harder to say it correctly, Ram RHO. And then I asked them what RHO stood for, and they're like, I don't know.
which is fascinating.
A Ram. I'm going to say Ram high output because it has the high output engine.
I'm sure that was what they meant to do with it, and then they chose not to do that.
Could be. It could be. So the Ram RHO. And so essentially the competition. So I'm leaving on Sunday. And we are going to Mammoth Lakes. That's where we're kind of doing our tech inspection, and we're starting from. That's our leaping off
Mammoth
point.
Lakes,
California.
Okay.
And it's 8,000 feet, so we wanted to get there a little bit early so we could get used to the altitude. And then on that Friday, which is that the 11th? I don't know. I think it's the 11th.
You should go for a long run when you get there and then smoke pot.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's a great way to adjust to altitude.
Yeah, no. And so on that Friday, we have our prologue day, day 0. And it's just kind of how we get our pole position, like how we start. So you go through it's a half day essentially, and then you get
trials, so like time trials.
Yeah, time trials. And so you get points, and then depending on how you rank is how you start the next day. And then the actual competition starts on Saturday, and you go through the following Friday. And the goal is to not die. So you don't want to roll your truck, damage your truck, do anything bad to your truck.
So don't die, don't damage the truck.
Yes.
Yeah. And then loss of limb, that's probably high on the don't do list.
Yeah, don't lose any limbs. And, for anybody who's not familiar with the Rebelle Rally, it's a women's only navigational challenge. So they take away your cell phone, they disable your GPS, and you use paper maps and a compass to find longitude and latitude points on the map.
And though it's women's only, it's not a great place to pick up a date because you guys are all really busy.
And we don't shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So not a great place to pick up. Yeah. Maybe we'll get 1 or 2 showers a week. But I'm bringing lots of Lumi deodorant with me, so I'm feeling pretty good about my chances of not stinking.
I can't have this conversation on air, but the Lumi ads really trouble me.
I think they trouble a lot of people, but
the deodorant
really
works. Trouble me. Okay. Good for Lumi.
Yes, it works. But yeah, so I when I'm talking about this in its simplest terms, it is essentially like a scavenger hunt, and you have to find hidden checkpoints, and it's kind of fun. So some of them are marked, some of them are not marked, and you use the longitude and latitude points and a map and a compass to get there.
You had written something about this that I wanted to talk about briefly. We're running out of time. Also, why do they advertise Lumi during Gunsmoke?
No, probably because they think that people...
Do women who watch Gunsmoke smell bad? I don't think that's the case.
The dudes who watch Gunsmoke smell bad.
That is almost certainly true.
Yeah, so there you go. Dudes can wear it too.
Yeah, like staying-home guys who work out of their office.
Yeah,
they need the Lumi.
Like you.
But Lumi is a women's product, so it's...
No, they have Mondo for men.
Great.
John wears Mondo. My husband.
I didn't need to know that.
Yeah,
All right, you had written a piece about, and I thought this piece was interesting, about the difficulties of driving in sand.
Yes.
And we touched on this briefly last week, but you're moving from a Hyundai Santa Cruz, which is basically a crossover-based small pickup truck, to a full-on Ram 1500 with a whole bunch of power.
Yeah.
And I've got some questions for you about this. I don't know anything about driving in the sand, but you had written about the difficulties of driving in sand. So you're moving to a higher performance vehicle, a more capable vehicle, but there are some snags.
Yeah, this is 2,000 pounds, like heavier than our previous vehicle. And the Santa Cruz, we had
several of me.
Yeah, we had called her Sandy because she was so great in the sand, and she just essentially would float on top of the sand. Well, we found out during training the Ram RHO does not. And we were actually driving the Rebelle, I will say, during training, and the RHO is going to be even heavier than the Rebelle, and full-size truck does not float on sand.
So we should just point this out. The Rebelle is an off-road ready version of the Ram, and then the RHO is more or less a replacement for the old TRX.
Correct.
It's a little bit lower powered. It's a lot more realistically priced.
Yeah.
I think it's a more interesting vehicle for that. But you got a whole bunch of power here, which could get you into trouble.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so when you're driving in sand, the biggest rule you have is don't drive what you can't see. And so the temptation when you're in a sand dune is to like power up all the way and then over the sand dune.
Say that, don't drive what you can't see?
Yes, don't drive what you can't see.
Meaning?
Like if you're at the bottom of a sand dune, you don't know what's on the other side of the sand dune unless you walk up it. So a lot of people, the temptation is to power up and go over the sand dune, but there could be like a swirling vortex on the other side, a witch's eye, something that will suck you in. And so you don't want to do that. So you need to have just the right amount of power to get you up the sand dune and stop you before you go over on the other side. And that's an art.
Interesting, because one of the things I read, too, about stopping is that you don't want to brake if you don't have to.
No, because braking will dig you in.
And it's very much like snow. You would be packing up stuff in front of the vehicle if you broke. And it's worse in sand because you're creating a rut.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I had one other thing here about this I was going to ask you. Why did I put my notes away?
I don't know. But I would say if you're driving in sand ever, you need to make sure you have max tracks and recovery gear and a shovel. Make sure you have a shovel. They're essentially recovery boards, and so they're long boards that have little points on them that you can put under your tires, and then it allows you to get out of a hole.
One of the things I was reading about sand driving today, and one of the things, too, that people will do is deflate the tires. Mm-hmm. So you will be doing that?
Yes.
So you'll be going from whatever the tires should be at 40 PSI to
I feel
25
like...
or...
Yeah. We were in the Rebelle, and we were aired down to, at one point when we got stuck, we aired down to like 18 PSI. And but we will probably keep it, like in sand, we'll probably keep it around 22 PSI. And I feel like the manufacturer's recommended PSI is in the door jamb. And we haven't seen this vehicle yet, but I think it's 36.
We have 0 PSI left in the show.
Woohoo!
All right.
Hey, how's that for a transition?
Yeah, hey.
But I will say, if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find Team Brute Squad. We are my team. We are the Brute Squad. So at Team Brute Squad, and the hashtag is We Are the Brute Squad.
Well, send me that link too.
Yep.
So today's show notes will have a lot of stuff in there.
Yep.
All right. We ran out of time. Thanks to Robby DeGraff of AutoPacific. Thank you, Jill. Thanks to producer Randy and the good folks here at TalkZone. I am on the Nick D podcast, which goes live now.
Okay.
Or tomorrow. Well, that's now because it won't be posted. Yeah, Tuesday.
It goes live
Tuesday.
now. Well.
And I visit with Steve and Johnny this coming Saturday. My theme is surf music, but it's imported surf.
Okay.
Surf from other countries. That's my musical theme for that show. All right, check out our show notes, which we post every week on Facebook. More people need to do that. That's the stuff. Let's talk more about cars again
next week.
Remember to check us out at consumerguide.com.
The Car Stuff Podcast is produced by J-Turn Media.
To advertise on the show, please drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.